Think about that feeling when you finally, nail something you've been working really hard on. That little spark.
Yeah, that satisfaction.
Exactly. That's kind of the essence of continuous improvement, right? Something we're all sort of chasing, whether it's, I don't know, work, hobbies, even sourdough starters.
It really is. It's that basic human thing, isn't it? That drive to just get better,
Yeah.
to figure things out.
And that's precisely what we're digging into today. But we're looking at it specifically through the lens of volleyball.
Right.
We've got a fascinating mix of sources, actually. Everything from detailed coaching guides and academy philosophies,
Yeah.
all the way to tournament rules and these long-term development plans. It's quite the spread.
Yeah, it paints a pretty full picture of a sport that seems, well, deeply invested in this idea of progress, constantly pushing for that next level.
Absolutely.
So our mission for you today, our learner, is to pull out the really key insights. How do these athletes commit? How do they get better? And crucially, how do they understand themselves in that process? Yeah, without getting totally bogged down in all the details, we want the sort of aha moment, the practical stuff.
Okay, so let's dive in. Continuous improvement. That seems to be the engine here, right? Where does that start in volleyball?
Well, it really boils down to commitment, a genuine commitment to getting better continuously.
Okay.
The comprehensive guide to coaching, the one for elementary and high school athletes, it explicitly states coaches expect this.
Mm-hmm.
It's like baseline.
So not just a nice to have, it's fundamental.
Exactly. And that expectation, right from the start, it sets a certain tone,
Mhm.
Improvement isn't really optional if you want to be part of the program.
Right. And how does that commitment actually show up? What does it look like day to day?
Well, several things. First, actively engaging in training. That's a big one mentioned in the materials focusing on this. It's not just being physically present.
You mean not just going through the motions?
Precisely. There's a difference between showing up and really being there, engaging with the drills, the feedback, the whole process.
Okay, active engagement. What else?
Tied closely to that is just regular attendance, showing up consistently for practice.
Seems obvious, but probably crucial.
It is. And that Coaching Sports to Internet Brad source actually makes a really interesting point about parents needing to prioritize practices, making sure the kids are prepared, ready to learn.
So it highlights the support system. It's not just the athlete in isolation.
Exactly. That teamwork off the court, you could say, makes the work on the court possible.
Makes sense. So active engagement, regular practice. What's the third piece?
Seeking out learning opportunities. It's not just about the physical reps. It's also about actively trying to learn more, growing your understanding.
Okay, so wanting to get smarter about the game, too.
Absolutely. Think about the Canadian Elite Academy. Their whole structure seems focused on continuing skill development.
Right.
And even the USAV Coach Academy pushes coaches themselves to keep learning, keep enrolling in courses. It creates this whole culture,
Yeah. A culture of learning. That's interesting. Does that ripple down, do you think? From coach to athlete?
I think it has to, right?
Yeah.
When the leaders value learning, it sets an example.
Yeah. And speaking of the Canadian Academy, you mentioned their structure. They have different levels.
They do. Next gen, elementary, intermediate, advanced, and then elite 1 and 2. It's quite structured.
What's the significance of that? Why not just group by age?
Well, the key thing is placement is based on skill level and goals, not just how old you are.
Okay.
So you progress when you're ready based on your abilities and what you're aiming for. It allows for much more tailored coaching.
That makes a lot of sense. You avoid holding back skilled younger players or overwhelming others. It makes you wonder, like you said, about other areas where we just default to age grouping.
Yeah, are we missing opportunities there for more effective development?
Maybe. Definitely food for thought. Now, we've talked about the commitment to practice and learning, but improvement isn't just physical skills like hitting hard, is it?
Yeah. Not at all. The comprehensive guide really emphasizes the cognitive side, too. Understanding strategy, tactics.
Reading the game.
Exactly. That mental acuity is huge in volleyball. Knowing how to anticipate, make smart decisions under pressure. That's as critical as any physical skill.
And the guide also mentions things like agility, coordination, the foundational stuff.
Right, and mastering the proper techniques. You need those building blocks before you can get to the really advanced skills. The whole athlete approach, holistic.
It really paints a picture of constant refinement on multiple levels. What about individual practice? Does that feature?
Oh, absolutely. The comprehensive guide talks specifically about structuring individual sessions, identifying what you need to work on, setting goals for that time.
So taking ownership outside of team practice.
Yes. And a couple of sources, Coaching Sports to Internet Brats and the Volleyball Practice Routine Guide, they mention something as basic as having your own ball.
For practice at home.
Yeah, just having that accessibility makes a difference for putting in that extra targeted work. It complements the team stuff.
Okay. And the coach's role in all this? They're not just running drills, presumably?
Far from it. The comprehensive guide talks a lot about fostering a growth mindset,
Growth mindset, meaning
meaning praising effort, not just talent, giving feedback that's constructive, like how to improve, not just what was wrong, setting goals that are challenging but achievable.
creating that safe-to-fail, okay-to-learn environment.
Exactly. It's about shaping the athlete's belief that they can improve through effort. The language a coach uses is incredibly powerful there.
So continuous improvement is the engine, but you need something to steer it, right?
Mm.
How does self-awareness fit in?
Yeah, that's the other side of the coin. It's absolutely crucial. Continuous improvement without self-awareness. Well, it's like driving blindfolded, isn't it?
You're moving, but maybe not in the right direction.
Precisely. You need to understand your own strengths, your weaknesses, how you learn best. That's what makes your improvement efforts targeted and ultimately effective.
And how do athletes develop that? It's not automatic, I assume.
No, definitely not. The comprehensive guide, again, offers some good techniques. Things like reflection.
Just thinking back on things.
Yeah, consciously analyzing your performance after a practice or a game. Also, self-assessment, being honest with yourself about your skills. And, importantly, seeking feedback.
Acting coaches, teammates.
Exactly. And the coach's role here is huge,
Yeah.
not just in giving feedback, but in creating a culture where asking for it and getting it is normal, even encouraged, seen as a strength.
That's a big cultural piece. Makes you think, doesn't it? How often do we really, truly reflect or seek honest feedback in our own lives?
It's a skill, for sure. And that self-awareness, once you start developing it, directly feeds back into how you practice. Well, if you know through reflection and feedback that your serve-receive needs work, you can tailor your individual practice to focus specifically on that. It becomes much more intentional.
Purposeful practice, not just random reps.
Exactly. Making that time really count.
The mental side seems important here, too. One of the sources, Volleyball Practice, Athlete Pre-Arrival and Routine, talks about mental prep before practice.
Right. Mental rehearsal, visualization, setting goals for the session.
How does that build self-awareness?
Well, visualizing success helps build confidence, sure, but it also clarifies what you're aiming for. Setting goals makes you conscious of your focus for that session. It's about actively tuning in your mind, increasing your awareness of your intentions and how you feel before you even start playing.
Getting yourself in the right headspace.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
And self-awareness isn't just internal, is it? It's also about understanding your place on the team.
Your role.
Your role, exactly. Sources like Sport Coaching Internet Kids and the main comprehensive guide really emphasize this. Knowing your responsibilities, how your job fits into the team's success.
So it fosters accountability and better teamwork.
Definitely. Success in volleyball is so collective. Understanding your part in that collective is key self-awareness.
And I remember the comprehensive guide mentioning mental toughness. How does self-awareness connect there?
It's fundamental to mental toughness.
Mm.
Being self-aware helps you understand how you react under pressure, how you get distracted, and what helps you regain focus.
Knowing your triggers.
Knowing your triggers, knowing what works for you. The guide mentions techniques like goal setting, visualization, even mindfulness, all ways to build that focus, which stem from understanding yourself better.
So it really feels like this cycle. The drive to improve pushes you to be more self-aware.
And then being more self-aware lets you improve more effectively.
It feeds itself. A virtuous cycle.
That's a great way to put it. It's this ongoing loop of learning and self-discovery.
Okay, let's zoom out a bit. We saw mention of this long-term athlete development framework, the LTAD one from Volleyball Canada. How does that fit into this whole picture?
The LTAD provides the bigger context, the long view. It emphasizes that athlete development isn't just about one season. It's a long-term process.
A marathon, not a sprint kind of idea.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about progressively building capacity over years, recognizing that athletes go through different stages.
And it looks beyond just chronological age, right? Something about biological and training age.
Yes, that's a key point. Biological age is about physical maturity, which varies obviously. Training age is simply how long someone's been seriously training in the sport.
So it's more personalized than just saying, okay, you're 14, you do this.
Right. It allows for training and competition that are actually appropriate for where that individual athlete is in their development. More tailored.
And the framework itself has stages.
It does. Things like focus play, initiation, identification, specialization, all the way up to refinement and professionalization. Each stage has different priorities.
Like what? Different focuses.
Yeah, different training to competition ratios, different skills being emphasized. Early on, it might be more about fundamental movements and just loving the game. Later, it gets much more specialized, high intensity, strategic.
It sounds like making that long-term vision work requires, well, a village.
It absolutely does. The LTAD model stresses that it needs buy-in and active support from everyone: coaches, administrators, sports scientists, parents.
Creating the whole ecosystem.
Exactly, an environment that supports that continuous improvement journey over the long haul.
Okay, so wrapping this part up. We've got this commitment to getting better, driving the need for self-awareness. That awareness then sharpens the improvement efforts. And this whole cycle ideally happens within a supportive system focused on long-term growth.
That really captures it. It shows that becoming a high-level athlete, or really getting good at anything, isn't just about raw talent. It's a very conscious, very ongoing process.
And, while we've been talking volleyball this whole time, these ideas feel much bigger than just one sport, don't they?
Oh, completely universal. That commitment to growth, that honest self-assessment, learning from experience, that applies everywhere. Your job, your hobbies, relationships, anything you want to get better at.
Right. So maybe a final thought for you, the learner, as you think about all this. How can you take these principles, this continuous improvement drive, this focus on self-awareness that we see in athlete training, and apply them to your own areas of interest, your own growth?
Yeah, it's a good question to ponder. It's a reminder that learning and getting better, well, it's always ongoing, isn't it? Full of chances to grow and understand yourself a bit more.
Absolutely. And if you are curious to dig deeper into the specifics, you might look up some of those resources we mentioned, like from the USA Volleyball Coach Academy or the Canadian Elite Academy materials.
It's definitely worth a look if this sparked your interest.
Well, that brings us to the end of this deep dive. Thanks for joining us.